that kind of like, I'll jump out there and I'm like, oh, what did I just do? Okay. So anyway, I thought, okay, well, I want to make sure that I spend enough time on it. I want to pray that I hear what God wants me to say. I want it to be worth our time. I want it to be worth our investment in the spending this time together, so that we could really get something from God. So I kept wrestling with things back and forth, and I started thinking about a story that one of my mentors had shared with me a long time ago, and it was about a woman, and I guess she might have been like a speaker at a conference or something, that was someone close to her in her life. And she just talked about how this woman just exuded the Spirit of God, just overflowing with Jesus, and just every time she was around, you could just feel His presence, you could see His presence, you knew that she had spent time with God, and it just showed in every area and every part of her life. And I just thought, wow, I want to be like that too. And that's why she was sharing it, of course, too, because that's how we all want to be. We want to be contagious with our joy and how we are, and knowing that we really have been with the Lord. So that's where I started thinking, okay, well, that's like an aroma, like being a fragrance, how it just spreads. It's like anywhere you go. And so I started looking up scriptures, and then being the person that I am, I got a little sidetracked. So I opened my email. I started checking my email on my phone. Okay, I'm supposed to be reading and studying right now, but I'm going to check my email really quick, okay? So, in my inbox, there's this awesome personal email from Bath & Body Works. Very personal to me. It says, semi-annual sale. I'm like, awesome. So I click on it. I'm like, okay, I've got to get to Bath & Body Works. So I click on it. Of course, there's a reason I need to go, and I'm like, what better reason to go shopping? Because they have the most amazing fragrances ever. So it kind of like confirmed, okay, God, you're confirming this because I need to go shopping. I'm like, so that'll really tie together with what I'm talking about. So anyway, that's just a side note. But I did get y'all a little something to remind us today about being a fragrance and being like an aroma. So, but I did actually do a little more studying because I wanted to really dig into that. I don't want to be too wordy, but I want to give us something to chew on, something that has depth than just being a fragrance. So I was looking up 2 Corinthians 2:14 through 17. But thanks be to God, who always leads us as captives in Christ's triumphal procession and uses us to spread the aroma of the knowledge of Him everywhere. For we are to God the pleasing aroma of Christ among those who are being saved and among those who are perishing. To one we are an aroma that brings death, and to the other an aroma that brings life. And who is equal to such a task? So there's several points here that I was grasping at for fragrance and aroma, and we are that to the Lord. And so a few other things I want to just touch on real quick. The definition of fragrance or aroma is a subtle, pervasive quality or atmosphere of a particular type. And when an aroma or fragrance is produced, it changes the atmosphere that you're in, right? So one of the things I was relating to this on my studying, I'm thinking, okay, I have a car that, I will be honest with you ladies, it is hard to keep clean. I don't know if y'all struggle with this. I do. I don't know why, but well, I do know why. I've got kids that bring in milk cups and suckers, and they get dum-dums from school. They leave gum wrappers in the side of my cup holders. Anyway, long story short, car is a small space and it's easy for the atmosphere to be changed quickly. And my car can have a very bad funk in it very quickly if the right aromas and fragrances are not in it. And with that, just trying to compare that, it's easy for atmospheres to be affected by what we're producing and what we put in them or lack of not putting in them. We want to have an aroma that is pleasing to everyone, but most importantly, God. Verse 15 says, we are to God a pleasing aroma of Christ. We cannot be a pleasing aroma or a fragrance if we are not spending time with him or doing the things that he's calling us to do. So there's 3 points about that I've kind of picked out from an aroma or fragrance. The fact is that an aroma can't be produced without something causing it. So it's a cause and effect. There's got to be a reason. There's something behind it. A good, sweet, amazing fragrance does not come about by nothing happening. It has to be stirred up. And the tactic of the enemy, this is something that really hit home with me about not stirring something up or not getting a fragrance produced, is apathy. I think that's one of the enemy's biggest things sometimes he'll use against us. It's not that we're not doing the right things or we're doing bad things. Maybe we're just not being proactive about stirring something up or creating that aroma or producing that fragrance that we should be. Maybe we've gotten kind of used to what we're doing, the same old, same old. We have to do something in ourselves to stir up what it is that God is really wanting us to produce. What is the aroma he wants us to be portraying or putting off to whoever we're in contact with or whatever situations are being presented in our lives. And for that, we have to dig deep. We have to get alone with him. We have to spend more time with him, praying and seeking his face, which has been really awesome that we're doing the whole fasting this time in January for our church and prayer. It's really made a difference for me. You know, it challenges me. It makes me have to try that much harder because balancing time and kids and work and the demands of life is a challenge. But I know that when we do that, that is the whole point. We're stirring up what God wants in us so that we can put off what we can do what he's calling us to do. So that was my number one thing, is I felt like, gosh, we can't be apathetic. We gotta work against that. We gotta really combat that and realize that that is a tactic of the devil. He doesn't want us to be apathetic. We need to be. It says, be hot or cold. Don't be on the fence. Let's get excited. If we're gonna do something, let's do it. And that's the way aromas are. They take over. They don't just, they fill the atmosphere. The other thing is, and that brings up the next point, is they are strong. Aromas are strong. They're reaching. They're effective. We need to be strong smelling fragrances. Not to the degree, okay, I put this in the notes, I wasn't going to say it, but we don't want to knock people down when we walk in the room, right?
Right.
You know, there's a difference of being pleasant and fulfilling. We don't want to like be in people's faces with our aromas. We definitely don't want an odor, but we want to smell sweet. We want people to know that there's something that it draws me to them. There's something that's full of the spirit from her. And another way, I was dwelling on this verse, Isaiah 40:31. It's one that I always go to this. This is such an important verse to me in my life. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles.
Yes,
they
amen.
shall run, they shall not be weary. They shall walk, and they shall not faint.
Amen.
We all can renew our strength in Jesus. That is the most important thing we can do, especially when things get busy and chaotic and crazy in our lives, is to relax, wait, know that God's going to help give us that new strength.
Yeah.
It's going to be there. We just have to trust him. It's not easy, never easy.
No.
But if we rely on him, we will renew our strength. And he's promised us we will not grow weary, we will not faint. And because aromas, this is number 3, are so strong and they fill up the atmosphere, we do have to make sure, like I mentioned before, that it is indeed a fragrance and not an odor. We don't want to be filling up the air with things that we shouldn't be. We don't want to be saying things we shouldn't. We don't want to put off anybody. Nobody wants to go somewhere and be like, oh. But we can come across that way if we're not, thinking about it, or if maybe we've not been doing what we should. Or maybe we said something we shouldn't. Or maybe someone took it the wrong way. And we don't want to do that. We just want to put off the fragrance of the Lord. Yeah. And we want people to feel welcomed and warm and invited and part of our family here, especially First of Firewheel, and all of us ladies. So the Proverbs that I pulled from that kind of goes with that. Sometimes 18:21 Proverbs says, "The tongue has the power of life and death." And in the beginning, when I read the first part, it says by our aroma, we can bring death or we can bring life. That's the same thing. We have that power. And that's an important thing. We've got to remember that. God gives us the aromas and fragrances that we have for reasons. And I also relate this to our gifts, and everybody's is different. Not everybody's aroma is the same. Not everyone's fragrance is the same, but the thing that needs to be the same is it needs to be pleasant. It needs to be pulling us closer to God and drawing us nearer to each other and help us bring glory to Him together. So I know that wasn't really, really long, but that was really what we saw.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you for that word.
For listening. And so to remind y'all, I have a fragrance. The reason we went to Bath and Body Works, so everybody can remember we need to be a fragrance, and there's a candle for you. So light it in your